Why anime? Sometimes I'll ask myself this question when I look at how much time I invest to the medium, as some days I do question what is it specifically about anime that brings me back to it more than say live action television series or even Western animation. Anime is in the medium I invest the most time in, video games are. I get the most immersion when it comes to playing a great game, but there are so many times where I just want to sit back and relax and watch a good show. So why do I usually come back to anime out of all the other options available? Many will have an answer loaded from, well, they have the most interesting stories, or they have the best visuals, or everything not anime is trash. But for me, I don't have a single answer, and it got me thinking. I wasn't always invested in anime like I was 5 years ago when I got heavily invested in the medium. Before that, I just played video games for most of my free time, and when I wanted to watch something, I would watch Let's Plays, or I'd rewatch a select few shows like Game of Thrones. But one night I saw an ad on a YouTube video that I was watching, and it was for an anime by the name of Guilty Crown, and I binged it in one night and it got me hooked on the medium. And then I quickly binged through more and more anime, and my priorities shifted into anime being the source of entertainment I went back to when I wanted a fun show to watch. Now when I look at anime as a medium, a few key aspects do stick out as why I might be hooked more than with other forms of television. Firstly, the look is drastically different, especially from cartoons from where I live. Back when I was a kid, I loved Saturday morning cartoons, even some late night ones. But as I grew up, I never really grew out of cartoons, just rather I got upset what cartoons were becoming, with this style replacing this. Even when I didn't know what anime was, even things like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Always stood out from the other shows that I was watching on Saturday mornings, as Japan's unique and distinct style of animation and art made it pop out visually from the crowd. But it wasn't just the visuals that made anime hook me, it was also the stories, as they could just be far more intriguing than that of other Western cartoons that I was generally watching. Watching superheroes take out the big bad villain versus a young duelist traveling to an island to rescue his captured grandfather, whose soul was taken by the creator of the game that they all play, was just a better hook than I typically saw with other shows. And when I started to get into anime, seeing things like Guilty Crown, for all the flaws it does have, having a nobody granted this immense power, that was just far more unique than most cartoons that I was seeing around that time. And it just felt like a protagonist in a video game getting an epic ability at the start of the game, and it just felt far more interesting than what I typically was seeing. I stuck to video games more times than not because the worlds, stories, and characters always had much more going on for it than what I typically saw on television. On top, I get to control the story. Playing as Commander Shepard trying to stop an alien invasion with a vast world with so many memorable characters made Mass Effect feel like a real universe. Playing as Link rescuing the Princess Zelda in an immersive world with so much story behind everything with very little dialogue in The Legend of Zelda, to getting lost in Telltale game series like The Walking Dead and crying my eyes out. So going to a standard TV show and only having a handful stick out to me, why would I want to do anything other than play video games with these great narratives and fun gameplay elements that I get to be in control of and feel like I get a better narrative experience in? And then anime came along, or I found it. And then I realized that there are many aspects that I like from video games found here. Not always to the same level, but the more I looked, the more I tried, the more I found in what I enjoyed with the medium and discovered what I didn't like about it. The anime medium is far from perfect. The amount of disgusting tropes used to the number of soulless cash grabs each season is a migraine, but if you know how to skim past the trash, you can find funny, unique, and intriguing series in every single anime season, and with so much anime existing, I can always find old hidden gems. But I look at anime after even saying all this and I still think, why does anime get this reaction out of me and not many shows made by my own culture? I love animation and always have, but looking at all the new digitally drawn trash on TV and just the style that they're using, it's not what I grew up with and it's not what I've ever enjoyed, so anime typically is a magnet for me. Many of the stories seen over here seem bare bones in comparisons to many of the crazy ideas that Japan comes up with, and it's not just anime, but video games as well. But there's still good pieces of animation being made outside of Japan that I still enjoy to this day, such as South Park. But why am I so hooked on animation and not live action more times than not? And this question truly stumped me, and the only answer that I could truly think of was that I grew up playing so many video games that my brain has almost expected animation rather than live action more times than not when it comes to fictional stories. And when I see real actors, more times than not, I find it hard to get invested, as I can notice more issues with acting than I can with standard voice acting. With animation, I have a lower level of expectations when it comes to facial expressions because I know it's animated, so it won't look as good as a real person. So I'm only caring about the voice acting quality. But in a live action TV show, I now have the expectation for reality and the character showing a lot more emotion, which shows can successfully do, but it adds this extra layer that I'm expecting that doesn't necessarily enhance my viewing experience. Now, it does let me get connected easier, as seeing a real person versus a drawing is far more easy to pull at my heart, and when I'm typically watching most anime, I watch 80% in Japanese audio as I watch most series as they air in Japan. And not speaking Japanese, I can hear far less flaws in that in an English dub, as when you don't know what the character is truly saying, and your only reference is the translation you're reading, it's easier to miss a flaw than when I find I'm watching something in my native language where I can sometimes cringe at the piss-poor voice acting that sounds as fake as can be. I think for me personally, anime hooked me so easily and quickly once I gave it a shot was because I grew up on video games when they were my pastime, and they still are to this day. I play games for fun and for immersive stories. I rarely watch TV, but when I did, it was usually cartoons. But then when typical cartoons lost the style I loved and shifted to a new generation, they kinda lost me. So seeing anime do what I enjoyed in the past but better in many ways, taking what hooks me in so many video games, I think that's why anime is my main source of television versus others. And I think for many, it's not just I like the visuals more than other mediums. I think there is a reason behind your appreciation to the visuals, and if you look back through your past, you might be able to see how you were in your younger years translates to how you are now. Or maybe that's just me. For many, this might be pointless to think about because anime is fun, and if you watch it for that reason, and that reason alone, that's perfectly fine. But for the amount of time I've invested into it, I wanted to figure out why I liked it so much, and I think this answers it, at least for myself. But let me know your thoughts on this topic. Why is anime something you enjoy so much, and is there something that you did a lot of when you were younger that translated into you becoming a hardcore anime fan? As for me, growing up on video games and traditional style cartoons really is what made me an anime fan once cartoons around me started to change for what I consider the worst. Anime became this beacon of light. And before you leave, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you like what you see here and you want to help support what I do for as little as $1 a month, then also head on over to my Patreon if you so wish. So until next time everyone, please take care, and y'all have a good one.